Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular meeting, March 25th, 2015. Long time since we've seen a gallery that full that wasn't hostile. I like it. No, it's nice to see everyone here tonight. Okay. In order, I'm going to ask everyone to rise for the singing of Old Canada. Last week was just Trustee McDonald, wasn't quite the same. Okay, I'll ask Director Patterson to do a roll call, please.
Trustee Armour.
Here.
First Vice Chair Karkner.
Present.
Trustee Cram.
Present.
Trustee Garrow.
Present.
Trustee McPherson.
Present.
Trustee Wendy McPherson. Trustee McAllister.
Present.
Second Vice Chair McDonald.
Present.
Chair McMillan.
Present.
Trustee Richards. Trustee Swan.
Present.
Student Trustee Shayla Cruz.
Present.
Thank you very much. Before we begin, I want to formally introduce our new student trustee who will be taking over in the fall. And that's so welcome, Alex. It's too late now after you watch this to turn back. You're here, we've got you, so enjoy. So I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Moved by Trustee Karkner, Trustee McPherson, that the Upper Canada District School Board approve the consent agenda items 3.02 to 3.03, March 25th, 2015 as submitted. Do we have any conflict of interest? Pardon me? Oh yes, do your vote, sir, please. My apologies. Sure. You good?
I'm good.
Thank you, that carries. Thank you very much. Any conflict of interest? Seeing there are none. Need a motion to move into committee of the whole. Moved by Trustee Cram. Seconded by Trustee Karkner, that the Upper Canada District School Board move into committee of the whole on agenda items 5.02 to 6.03, March 25th, 2015. Cast your votes, please. And that carries, and that moves us into the first item we'll be doing. Few of us trustees have had the privilege of being involved in Student Senate, probably for the 4 years that we've, especially in the last term. And we're always very impressed with what happens there. And our own student trustee, Shayla Cruz, has done an amazing job this year. And one of the things that's come out of that is the Student Senate logo. And I'm going to pass that over to Shayla in a second. But I was at the meeting. You were at the meeting when all of these were displayed on the walls, and it was just amazing to see the applications or the entries that were brought forward. So I'm going to turn this over to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, this year as student trustee, one of my first initiatives, which was suggested to me by Lisa Workman, was to do a Student Senate logo design competition. So the idea behind the Student Senate logo competition was that we'd have branding so that the students would know who we are and who their student senators were, so they could go to their student senators whenever they wanted to express their opinions on the student voice and the board. So I made a video explaining what the Student Senate logo competition was, and it was shared all over the board Facebook, the board Twitter. We got it out to the boards, and we started receiving tons and tons and tons of submissions. We actually had over 25 submissions, which was an unbelievable turnout. And then we brought all the logos to our Student Senate meeting, and we handpicked them, the senators and I. And then we put the top 3 on Facebook, and all the people in the community, all the students, all the teachers, they could like and pick their favorite Student Senate logos. And we have our 3 winners today. So if they could come up and accept their awards, we have in 3rd place Kanta, who sends her regrets because she couldn't be here. 2nd place, we have Millie from BCI.
I noticed that now. Didn't know that until I came to the connection.
And our 1st place winner was Maria. And we also have a big plaque that we're going to hang up somewhere in the board office. So congratulations, Maria. So I just want to say thanks to everyone who supported, thanks to everyone who submitted a logo, and thanks to Lisa, and congratulations to our award winners.
And on behalf of the board, we would like to say thank you to you as well, Sheila. You put a lot of work into this, and I hope all of the trustees have had a chance to see the plaque. And I believe, Lisa, you have a binder of all of the other entries. So if you get a chance, take a look at them. They're all so well done. So thank you on behalf of the board for everything you do. So those of you that saw the beginning of this, you are welcome to go, but you're missing an opportunity of a lifetime. Thank you so much for being here, and everyone that came to support. We appreciate it. Okay, moving on. We are going to be having again two schools present to us tonight in terms of the critical success factors as part of the Next Level Driven Accountability Framework. The first school will be Glen Tay Public School, and I'm going to turn this over to Director Patterson, who's going to introduce.
Thank you, Chair McMillan. It's my pleasure to introduce Principal Steve Ferguson, principal at Glen Tay Public School. Glen Tay is just on the outskirts of Perth, and Glen Tay is part of the Lanark South family of schools. And I note that John Gow was in the very back row. I can just see him. Yep, he's a cap for the Lanark South family, so he's here this evening as well. So Steve, certainly welcome you to the table, and look forward to your presentation this evening.
Very nice beginning to the evening. Very difficult to follow as well. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to share a little about Glen Tay Public School with you tonight. Our school is situated near the hamlet of Glen Tay, just west of Perth. We represent one of 7 schools in the Perth family in Lanark South. For tonight, I have attempted to capture aspects of programming identified through our school success plan, as well as highlight those characteristics that help make us unique as we work to serve the students entrusted to our care. Glen Tay was officially opened in November 1968 as 17 section schools amalgamated into the new school community. We have maintained family connections as next-generation students attend as parents stop to locate themselves in the annual school photographs in the hall. A rich sense of community continues to be enjoyed. Our enrollment in September was 112 students, with mid-year transfers this year increasing our enrollment to our current 121. We are in our first year as a K-6 school, with intermediate students now attending Perth and District Collegiate Institute. Our mission statement, Learn, Grow, Succeed, demonstrates our belief that the educational journey includes the need for academic engagement combined with social and emotional growth. The illustrated grade 5-6 student voice puzzle provides one example of how our students are encouraged to actively promote a school-wide culture of care. Glen Tay's strengths are represented by a commitment to citizenship, community, and our culture of care. Staff and students actively support various community, provincial, and international causes. From Big Brother, Big Sister bowling to CHEO fundraising, students are often the ones that initiate the support. From Heart and Stroke Terry Fox and recognizing needs within our own community, staff and students demonstrate a compassion for others and how well they are learning to contribute to their community in any way they can. Tay Valley Township coordinates numerous recreational opportunities using our school facilities. Activities range from evening rentals to summer baseball and soccer. Our on-site rink provides great winter opportunities for area residents as well. Students enjoy our annual Police Services Ball Game and Barbecue, sponsored by the Police Services Board and municipality. Helping Hands and playground leadership programs continue to develop social awareness within our students as they develop collaborative learning and leadership skills. We believe a safe and inclusive learning environment promotes productivity and engagement for all students. Contextual data taken from this fall from our grade 4 to 6 students demonstrate how they feel we are doing meeting those needs. This represents our first goal on our school success plan. Rated often or always, we have 88% of junior students telling us they receive assistance as they require it, 85% indicating they feel their school is a friendly place to be, 92% feeling happy and safe, and 96% of students responding saying their school is a comfortable place to learn. There were no students indicating they never felt safe, friendly, happy, or comfortable. We're very pleased with that result at this point. Grade 3 reading results surpassed provincial levels this year, and writing results at 94% are also our best results in recent years. Primary math remains our one area for growth. Staff completed a subject inquiry on these results to better understand successes and challenges. It was noted that each of the 2013 and 2014 grade 3 classes received similar instruction in the use of assistive technology, with the 2014 group receiving an increased focus on guided writing. We feel a significant aspect of student success this year was the building on previous work with the inclusion of assistive technology. We are fortunate to have the Trustees Innovation Award winner from last year in this classroom. We were pleased that 78% of our students working with IEPs reached level 3 this year for reading, and 89% of students working with IEPs met level in writing. This represents a significant change from last year's results, where the majority of those students were level 2. We have also had an interesting professional development experience this year by meeting with former Smart Technologies design team who visited us in the fall. Staff were asked for input regarding ideas for an e-portfolio software under development. We have now been provided access to the newly released app, and we're looking forward to the opportunity to explore its application further. We do continue to struggle moving math results to the same degree as language. As indicated, results have fluctuated from year to year. Student contextual data from last spring indicates that just 50% of our grade 3 students say they like math most of the time. Pleased with the achievement results in primary language, we have turned our attention to grade 3 math results. It was observed that these students successfully meeting curriculum goals in classroom programming still struggled when attempting EQAO consolidated questions in the classroom in preparation for assessment. This was observed again on the EQAO results in front. For our grade 3 students, lower than expected results were apparent in geometry and spatial sense, and number sense and numeration. Similar results were observed for the grade 6 students, along with lower achievement on questions involving measurement. The analysis of achievement on application and thinking questions for both grade 3 and 6 led to our revised focus on a continuum of learning for math, coordinated problem-solving strategies beginning with geometry and spatial sense questions, and using collaborative teaching time weekly to support these students. The curriculum connection that fueled that decision comes from our Ontario Math curriculum. A strong sense of spatial relationships and competencies in using concepts of language of geometry also supports students' understanding of number and measurement. Over the past 4 years, grade 6 achievement results have fluctuated between 10 and 21% behind the province in reading, have shown minor positive trending over time in writing, but indicate consistency of challenge and negative cohort trending from primary to junior assessments in math. As of last May, math achievement for all students by level was as follows. Level 1, 33%, level 2, 44%, level 3, 17%, and level 4, just 6%. The percentage of students at level 1 and 2 are significantly higher in math than for reading and writing. Our most significant challenge is to reverse the trend between grade 3 and grade 6 achievement results in each academic stream as indicated for this year's cohort data. We need to increase the number of students meeting level in grade 6. Results from 2009, 2010, 2012-13 cohort indicate similar trending with our most significant need also identified in math. Action planning includes a renewed focus on aspects of problem solving, including representing, reflecting, reasoning, proving, selecting tools, and computational strategies. Considering achievement levels by gender, we identify a significant discrepancy between male and female students in math. Last year's grade 3 girls outperformed boys by 35%. Having said that, in our school that represents about 6 students, while female grade 6 students achieved less than male counterparts in both reading and math. Cohort gender comparisons for the previous year also show similar results for math, with girls achieving less than boys in both primary and junior assessments. This will be further examined through our collaborative math focus as we look at how students are approaching math tasks and whether levels of conceptual understanding align with strategies they apply toward their solutions. This graph illustrates the differences between student achievement in daily math programming and that of EQAO assessment. Over time, we see consistency of assessment on report card data and fluctuating grade 3 results from EQAO. We are currently discussing knowledge versus application and thinking questions as identified through the EQAO line item analysis. Our students demonstrate stronger achievement with knowledge-based questions than that involving application and or thinking. For junior students, trending indicates that report card information is approaching EQAO assessment results. For our students, and as expected, daily assessment data collected through observation, conversations, and product remains higher than achievement on summative EQAO. As we look to better understand our achievement levels for junior assessment and what our students are telling us about themselves, we see relatively consistent opinion shared between the primary and junior students. Perhaps the most telling indicator is the stated decrease in liking of math most of the time from 50% in grade 3 to 17% for grade 6. As part of our intervention plan for math, we're running a mini parallel inquiry for our hub. We are looking at whether manipulatives and instructional tools are employed in an effective manner through the divisions. As expected, grade 6 students indicate use of calculators, but fewer indicate use of manipulatives. We are exploring whether this has an effect on multi-step problem solving through our Family of Schools math hubs and our weekly collaborative work periods. Further student responses provide interesting information as we look at strategies they apply in the classroom. Of note is a feeling shared by grade 6 students that they read math problems to understand what to do. Our EQAO results do not illustrate they have a clear understanding of what it is that they are doing on EQAO, however. Our school numeracy goal is promoting achievement through a balance of conceptual and procedural math. School success action items moving forward include weekly collaborative student support, scheduled, team teaching, and a focus on problem-solving strategies in mathematical language. An exploration of cross-grade curriculum connections and electronic anchor charts, grade 1 to 6 continuum of learning. A Maths on Screen pilot project to promote student engagement in authentic learning, opportunities with applications of mathematical concepts into real-life circumstances. And fourthly, the analysis of applied strategies through our inquiry-based learning. Our next steps for literacy will be supported through existing program focus on balanced literacy, exposure to high-interest reading material through our Glente Reads and our Ready to Read Books program, and the addition of the interactive online leveled book reading program, RazKids. We have introduced this this year as a Tier 1 intervention and currently have all grade 1 to 6 students reading it, accessible at school as well as at home. Their progress will be continued to be monitored through ongoing benchmark data. Of note was our Learning Commons Services statistics from our library. We show a very high circulation rate, even in the world of online reading. We have kids still taking out books to the tune of an average of over 600 per month. Our benchmark information is tracked electronically. This is an example of our grade 2-3 classroom summary as updated for January. Red indicates reading below level, so as you can see at this point in time, our 2-3s are on level for the most part, with yellow represents slight under level achievement. We continue to monitor our progress in math. We've initiated an individual tracking system for all students. Currently, this information is posted on our large tracking board. We're in the process of converting this data into an individual pass-along portfolio, a summary sheet that will include a range of PM benchmark data each year, EQAO results, and math progress by strand. The class summary list, as displayed, shows updated math results from the February reporting period and is used to help ongoing assignment of supports where needed. Students experiencing academic challenges are supported through student success teamwork, with progress monitored much more closely. Our critical success factors for communication. Traditional communication strategies like daily messaging, student-led morning announcements, and newsletters continue to help us maintain contact with our community. One of our more successful strategies this year has been the addition of daily posting to our Facebook page, showing students engaged in their work. We wish to provide parents the opportunity to see their children as they learn in a daily virtual open house forum. Our community has been thrilled with that response and level of access to their kids. The kids are actually surprised that they get home. The parents know what it is they've been doing. Our resources are allocated through our resource committee as we prioritize purchases throughout the year. Our latest purchase allows wireless access to our smart board for our iPad users. We are committed to advancing skills using technology and have a smart board in every room, an iPad and a laptop cart, and also a smart table. 5 staff iPads were purchased last year, and we're currently upgrading our own staff capacity. This is an example clip of our primary students using technology. We place a high value on its input, and they're getting very, very good at it. This is a grade 2-3 class using iMovie. are components of our continuum of learning focus in mathematics. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that slide. There they are. So both conventional inquiry-based learning on the left and smartboard technology and active play on the right. Unique opportunities exist at Glen Tay for students to develop both academically and socially. The Grade 1 Gingerbread Reading and Writing Unit this past fall became a school-wide phenomenon as all students joined in on the hunt for the missing gingerbread man. The Grade 1s are writing beginning, middle, and end, learning about it. Sometimes simplicity is the best approach. Our annual spring performance provides a stage for young artists to shine. This year, Willy Wonka Jr. will play to full houses on April 30th and May 1st. And unfortunately, I forgot all of your golden tickets at school, so they'll be forwarded through the courier, and you're all invited to performances. They will be full houses, and they are worth the trip to Perth. This is an example of compassionate children, compassionate young adults, and their work for community. In our school community, this is one of our significant strengths. This is an example from 2013, 4 students who graduated in my first year at Glen Tay, and the question we ask are we making a difference? It certainly takes on a new meaning when it is the students that are asking that question. It's a wonderful little clip for you.
Hello, my name is Amelia Bowie Buffum.
I'm Kara Cameron.
I'm Kate Thornton.
And I'm Lily Strong.
We are from Glen Tay Public School in Perth, Ontario.
And we are 13 years old. I think as youth we have an edge because we're not afraid to question because we are very curious.
To us, making a difference means helping someone out any way you can and benefiting their lives.
You should look and see if there's any projects your community is working on, and if you have an interest in it, just go for it.
And it doesn't matter if it's something little, as long as you're doing something.
Because the younger that people start to become involved, the more it carries out throughout their lives. Being 13, I feel that it really helps us to relate to the children that we are helping through our project, Students Helping Students. We believe that the scholarships we provide for these 15 students will help them to go on to create a better future for themselves, their children, and possibly the other villagers.
We have such good fortune here, and it just lets us know that it doesn't come to everyone and we need to help out other people.
I am making a difference. You can make a difference.
South Grenville District High School is one
Changemakers Award up until that time. So as you can imagine, it's a privilege of mine to come to work with students in the school like that. Our crew wellness critical factor, we attempt to celebrate wellness every day at Glen Tay. Family movie nights and special student activities, our NAC trips, our swim, our sports, our Historica, scientists in the classroom, they all help to make school enjoyable. Our parents indicate we are a small school, but our students do not lack for anything. We continue to work collaboratively to provide a safe, a positive, and a successful learning experience for all of our students. We also continue to ask, are we making a difference? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll open this up to comments or questions. Anyone on the phone lines? We'll start with you. Anyone want to make a comment or ask a question? Here at the table. Trustee Larson.
Yeah, I have a question for Steve, or Mr. Ferguson, and then I have a comment to make. Glen Tay recently went through a JK to 6 transition, and usually these things are not without their challenges. Could you kind of elaborate a wee bit on the success of that transition through the chair?
Through you, Chair. I believe the successes and ease of transition, for lack of a better way of saying it, was due in part to the acceptance of the community and the work done previously through community meetings, explaining the process and making sure that everyone with concerns was heard. The community voice was there. It was interesting, and yet the questions that were posed were given answers, or at least promises to hear. And I think that made a large difference in parents' opinions and students' feelings about making such a change. And I've heard nothing but good things come to me from the community and from our kids, and now we're starting again with our grade 6s looking ahead for next year.
When we first started receiving these reports, well, essentially what I'm trying to say is these reports have now developed into an extremely important piece of information. It seems the further we get into it, really, the more and more detailed the information we're getting, and they are indeed school success plans. I wonder, do we have any way as a board of cataloging? I know I can go back through board docs and pull up the ones from my schools and save them into a file, but do we have any way of cataloging them by trustee wards that we could access them? That's just an open-ended question.
Lisa, does Word Docs give us the ability to do that, to catalog certain things?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so we'll take a look into that and
Okay,
see what,
thank you.
how possible that is. Any other comments, questions? Trustee Cartner.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. That shows that there's some great things happening at your school. On your slides, there are two slides that maybe it's because I'm still semi on holidays here, but I wondered if you could interpret for me how you came up with the EQAO/report marks. I guess it's page 10. You're showing here the EQAO data in green, and this is your school data in,
The line graph?
yeah.
Yes, through you, Chair?
Yes.
Yes, the line graph is the tracking over time of in-school formative and summative assessment data, report card data, and the green line marks the EQAO performance over time.
Great. Love it. It just shows that the two of them should be considered, in my eye, whenever they're being reported on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on the phone lines?
Through you, Chair.
Trustee Swan, go ahead.
What do you contribute your success in raising the EQAO to 3s for children with IEPs? What did you do different, or what did you concentrate on?
Through you, Chair. An excellent question, thank you. I was hoping someone was going to ask that one. I personally attribute that to a successful team approach and our students. They are actively working to engage in their learning, and they're assisted through the technology to a very high degree, and that's why I inserted that clip with the iMovie. They are actively pursuing whatever access opportunities they have, and the success that we've had is moving the level 2 students through the process and allowing them to better communicate what they know through a variety of needs and a variety of methods, including assistive technologies. We've moved the level 2 students through, and they're now achieving level 3 results because they can access.
Thank you. And through you, Chair, I just wanted to say I think this is so important because so many of our children, we realize, are sitting on the cusp. And anyway, thank you very much for your answer and for your successes.
Any other comments, questions? Trustee Cram.
Through you, Chair, to Steve, there are two slides, Steve, that I'm having some difficulty understanding, and I'm wondering if you could just fill me in on the stuff. One is on slide 11, and one is slide 18. And that both have to do with the math. The 11 is the QAO, where your report card marks seem to be coming closer to the EQAO results. And on slide 18, which seems to be the one that you're doing a progress monitoring in math, the grade 6 is, if I read it right, says the report card marks are 85% above grade level, and that's what I'm just having some difficulty with.
Through you, Chair. Yes, slide 11, that you're absolutely correct. That is showing the lines approaching, and that's encouraging to me. I want to see that trending, and I think we're approximating that. I do believe that EQAO will continue to demonstrate a slightly lower achievement just because of the nature of the assessment itself and the teacher's capacity to really use rich assessment data gained in other methods, especially for students who have difficulty communicating on a written test. So I do believe that those are relatively accurate, but I'm very pleased that they're trending. It means we're paying attention to the assessment and we're looking for the right things, in my opinion. Slide 18. Yes, the numbers, this is a combination of progress monitoring that I've tried to capture for you so that you can see that we're working with all of our students. We're tracking them all. We're also implementing new tracking systems where we believe we'll be able to better pass along the information each September so the next grade teacher knows exactly where those students are as they begin their year. The numbers that you're indicating, 85% for grade 6, that's what the classroom assessment marks on the February report cards indicated at this time for this grade 6 class.
Through you, Chair. Would I then assume from that the EQAO testing coming up in late May, June would probably indicate higher marks on it or higher results of it?
Through you, Chair. Absolutely. I'm hoping that's the case. Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. My expertise is in math, of course, and I've also volunteered in schools to help with the assessment of the EQAO as far as the special needs students. And I've also monitored the EQAO testing in schools, so I'm very pleased to see that the results are coming closer together.
Trustee Auer.
Through you, Chair. A quick question for you, and this isn't the first slide I've seen like this where and maybe you can speak to it. I see a lot of times in our grade 3 and even our grade 6 where there's in the testing that there's a significant difference between males and females in terms of their scoring. How do you make sure that, for example, our boys aren't falling through the cracks?
Through you, Chair. Close observation and monitoring for both boys and girls so that neither fall through the cracks, as you've mentioned. I think what we're really trying to do to ensure we're paying close attention to that need, and there is that discrepancy, is looking at, and again in our mini inquiry we're running with our school, family of schools hubs, we're attempting to observe the students in their thinking, how they're applying skills and concepts and strategies in math. We're watching that very closely in hopes that we can see the differences in how grade 3s and grade 6s approach, and then through the continuum, as well as how boys and girls are reflecting the different types of questions that they're being posed. They do learn differently. They do excel in different areas at different times, as we all know. And I think our job is to really closely monitor that so that we do catch the slip when and if it does occur. Differentiation is going to be our key, along with looking at the multiple intelligences of actually what those students, gender students, feel is appealing to them.
Okay. Thanks.
Trustee McDonald.
Just to pick up on that slide 11, the grade 6 math. And I applaud you for having this information to show us the comparison between report card marks and EQAO. We're getting closer, but the alarming thing is the report card marks are dropping. So the trend is not necessarily as fast as we'd like to see, perhaps getting closer together. I guess overall from a report card mark, there's about a 30% drop from where you were in 2010, 2011. So that's 30% of the kids are not no longer at or above. And on EQAO, there's been a significant drop, but trending back up, but not at the same pace as it reached the drop in 2011, 2012. Your strategies that you've got in place are, I guess, anticipating that you're going to move that trajectory a little faster than what we've seen over the last 3 years. And as long as those two lines are close together and the trend line is up, can you speak specifically to some of the points that you've got in here that are going to move that line, and I guess in a better direction up?
Through you, Chair. Our math is definitely in grade 3 and 6 our focus for attention. We've moved it to our #1 priority over literacy. For that reason, the past 4 years have been low results on EQAO. You're right. I think in directing our approach for the students, we're making small trends forward, but at the rate of a child a year on our percentages, which is not the rate that we would like to see climb. We're hoping that as we investigate further with the individual strands, we've identified the areas where the kids seem to be having the most significant difficulty, and we're hoping by addressing those most significant shortcomings that we'll be able to key on growth overall.
That's great. I think it's important that we talk about that because, in your slide, you've certainly highlighted those specific areas, the geometry and spatial pieces. So that's an important piece, and it's easy enough to just lump everything together and say we're doing as much as we can in math. And I think you've analyzed the data and you're digging down into it. My next question is on slide 8, and it's where you've got the green arrows. Students that met standard in grade 3 but not in grade 6. But it's not specific to your school, I guess. I guess in general, what happens, or what are significant changes between grade 3 and grade 6 that would help, I guess specifically to math, more so than anything? There's lots of changes, but what changes in math that would contribute to those students not meeting where they were in grade 3?
Through you, Chair. I attribute it to the widening gap in knowledge between 3 and 6. I believe we've been successful in closing that gap more quickly at primary. For whatever reason, and I do not have that answer, I wish I did tonight because our results would be higher. If the students in junior, the gap is definitely wider for them, I believe, so the strategies that we're putting into place in primary may not have the same level of depth or improvement in grade 6. What we've done, what we continue to try to do is, again, dig down into that data to look at the specific attempts by those students who are still struggling in grade 6, and certainly in 4 and 5, to be honest, they still are there as well, and determine what strategies they're using to better provide them with a greater range of strategies to apply to improve their conceptualization of mathematical concepts. I think if we're able to develop their conceptual mind, they have a better grasp of concepts early on, they are going to be more successful later on as the questions become more complex.
And that's great. I guess what I was looking for is there something significant within the curriculum, though, in grade 4 or in grade 5 or in grade 6 that changes, that is that curveball for kids that creates that. So I understand it's a continuum, but is there something new that's being thrown to them that causes them to slow down and do something different? I guess that's that
Okay.
wrench in your wheel, I guess, sort of thing.
It definitely is. Thank you. Through you, Chair. Yes, it is definitely, we would consider it a wrench as well. The ability of our kids to express themselves in succinct and thorough written manner in grade 6, I think the expectation there for the math is certainly higher than it is for 3. There's more detail required, and I don't believe that our students have the same drive to complete that thought. And what we've noticed specifically is that their ability to communicate those steps, multi-step planning, processing a plan to work through a problem that they don't understand, in grade 6, they're more apt to say, no thank you, and turn the page, in my experience. If we're able to give them more strategies to assist those multi-step problem pieces, I think they're going to stick with it and be a little more determined to stay on point with learning a little bit more. Problem solving is going to be our focus for that purpose.
Yep, go ahead.
Through you, Chair, certainly the work of our math hubs in the junior division focuses on very much of what Steve is speaking about right now. The big concept, as I understand it, is proportional reasoning, and it is woven throughout many of the strands in the curriculum, and it's very complex, and it's about it's the sort of concepts that you would see in fractions and ratios, which we see in the primary grades, but at a very concrete level. And when you move into the junior division, these concepts become much more abstract. And so it's so important for, as Steve says, for the students to learn a variety of strategies in order for them to be able to tackle these concepts successfully. And so I guess I'm just emphasizing that this is a phenomenon that we see throughout the board. It's one that we're paying attention to through the math hubs, and building the teacher's capacity, and obviously improving the student learning as well, to equip them to be able to handle some very complex concepts in the junior division, but particularly by the time they reach grade 6.
Thank you. Trustee Cram. Any questions, comments online? Okay, thank you very much. Steve, thank you very much for a great presentation. We really appreciate it. And I also want to acknowledge John Gow. Thanks, John, again for being here. We appreciate that, and I'm sure Steve does as well. So thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, the next presentation, I'm going to ask David Coombs to introduce South Grenville District High School.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening, everyone. It's my great pleasure to welcome Principal Sandy McInnes from South Grenville to the table. With Sandy today are a whole cadre of vice principals, and I'll introduce them one at a time. Christy Reitsma and Dorothy Cameron, our current vice principals, and really glad former vice principal, just recently former vice principal, Brent Brown's here as well. Thank you, Brent, for coming tonight. Also, Nancy Hanna, the cap for the Grenville family, is here. Thank you for coming, Nancy. Really excited about this presentation. South Grenville, I think, is exploring some new and innovative ways of meeting student need, and I'm really pleased to welcome Sandy to the table, and I think you'll like what he has to hear. Sandy, go ahead.
Thank you, Superintendent Coombs, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for this opportunity. And welcome to South Grenville District High School, serving grades 7 to 12. South Grenville opened in 1958, and since 2007 to present has been serving grades 7 to 12. We're very proud of our elementary feeder schools, Wellington Public, located in Prescott, Benson Public, located in Cardinal, South Edwardsburg, located in Johnstown, Centennial 67 Public, located in Spencerville, and Maynard Public School, located in Maynard. They send us fantastic kids, and we have a very close working relationship with our feeder schools. Very proud of our staff at South Grenville. Over the past 3 years, that's when Christy, Brent, and myself arrived as the brand new admit team. And one of our emphasis was to make sure that we brought the families, the parents of South Grenville closer to South Grenville School. And I'm very proud of our staff. The emphasis has been on parent communication, and through phone calls, through face-to-face meetings, through emails, at different times when there's been challenges and extra support required for students at different times in their lives. Our staff at South Grenville has been doing a fabulous job bringing our families closer to South Grenville. Our OSSLT, first time eligible. Over the last 3 years, we changed up our practice with regards to deferring fewer students. And also, over the past 2.5 years, we've created our grades 7 to 12 cross-curriculum literacy team. In other words, our modeling and practice at South Grenville for the past 2.5 years with the new admin team is that literacy is not just part of the language department, it is part of all subjects. And so the cross-curricular literacy team, grades 7 to 12 teachers working together. Our staff meetings have been really embedded PD every month where teachers, it's teacher-led, so we've empowered our teachers from the different subject areas to be making sure that our practice and our understanding and our language throughout our school with regards to literacy is the same, and regardless of the subject, the literacy language is the same throughout. Our lots of work to do. You can see maintaining our standard in reading and writing, 59% and 49%. Lots of work to do in the area of our literacy, and that's one of the practices that why we implemented our grade 7 to 12 literacy team to bring the elementary and the secondary teachers together, partnering and sharing strategies, and making sure that the language within the staff, regardless of the division, are the same, and regardless of the subject, are the same. Also, we'll expand later. We created just recently, at the end of semester 1 of this year, we created our grade 7 to 10 literacy continuum. And that's where our grades 7, 8, 9, and 10 teachers are working very closely together in understanding where the deficits or challenges are in the area of literacy. And so we're going deeper with that group. One of our goals going forward as well would be to make that grade 7 to 10 literacy continuum team, making it a grade 6 to 10, and inviting our grade 6 teachers, bringing our elementary feeder school teachers closer to our school, and working with our grade 7 to 10 teachers. Once again, lots of good work to do at South Grenville in the area of math. We, as you can see, our work, we need to do a great deal of work, not only at South Grenville, but we've been working and looking at this as a family of schools challenge. Our work is really cut out for us in the area of our applied math, and we've created a grade 9, it's actually a grade 7 to 9 math focus team, and our grade 7, 8, and 9 teachers are working in partnership with admin as well as with our department head of math, very senior math teacher. We've been working together the last couple of months in zeroing in, and thanks to the support of the senior team of making that kind of team allow us to get together. We're looking at where the challenges have been. Interesting enough, in our digging into our EQAO data, our students are having success in the area of linear relationships and analytic geometry, and struggling in the area of number sense and algebra. Interesting, after the Easter weekend, our grade 9 team, our 3 grade 9 math teams are going to be implementing a device algebra. It's a program that was developed in Northern Ontario, and we've tweaked it for our grade 9 applied and academic students, and we're going to be test driving the device algebra with our grade 9 math students over the next 2 weeks after Easter weekend. So it'll be interesting to take our math focus team and dig deep into what the strategies we use, and did they have a positive effect on our student learning. So looking at the math grade 6 to grade 9, and this is why I want to bring the grade 6 teachers from our feeder elementary schools closer, is because they have valuable experience, firsthand experience with those grade 6 students that are now our grade 7 students, and bringing some of the practices that they actually use in digging deep into the EQO data, bringing those same strategies and how they analyze the grade 3 and grade 6, and bringing that skill set to our grade 7, 8, and 9 teachers. So we have the wonderful good fortune now of having our grade 7 and 8 teachers in our 7 to 12 schools, but there's no reason why we can't bring the expertise and the skill set of our grade 6 teachers closer to our 7 to 12 math focus group here. So it's something that we're going to be moving forward with. 16 by 16 and our graduation rate remaining consistent. However, later in this presentation today, you're going to hear about our grade 9 IDEA program, which in looking at the results in numeracy and literacy and looking at our grad rate and our 16 by 16 data, that was what caused the admit team basically 2.5 years ago to start having mini conversations with some folks in this room about how do we change up our programming to support all learners and to make progress. And so it's going to, our IDEA program is going to have and is currently having a positive impact on these numbers here, example the 16 by 16, which you'll hear more about shortly. Our school success plan, once again, 2.5 years ago when Christy Brent and myself arrived at South Grenville as the new admin team, we spent 6 months having conversations with students and staff and really having listening to what they were proud of, what they value, and what they'd like to see in their school. And after 6 months of many conversations and listening to our students and staff at South Grenville and having conversations with parents in our very supportive parent council, we established our 3 goals. Fairly straightforward, fairly basic. It's the teaching and learning cannot occur if the students are not at school. So attendance, and we have culture of care and learning in the 21st century. And if you have attendance in place, and if the attendance is not in place, then you got to kick in the culture of care. And then once that's in place, then the teaching and learning can occur. And when we established our goals too, they align with Douglas Willem's ministry work in the area of institutional, social, and intellectual engagement. So everything we do comes back to those 3 goals. And at this point in time, I'd like to ask Vice Principal Dorothy Cameron to speak to our work.
Okay, I'm going to speak to the first 2 that are combined and aligned through some attendance procedures that are in place, specifically through the use of Power School. Power School offers a number of really precise tools that you can use to keep track of and improve attendance. And the team, admin team, has committed to investigate those tools and use them. It generates daily attendance reports and specially generated reports such as unexcused absences by grade. And it allows administrators to daily monitor and follow up using anything from crucial conversations with students to meetings with parents, arranging community supports for students, finding out what the real reasons are behind attendance issues. So Power School is, and it actually just recently added what's called a cumulative report that I think guidance counselors worked on, and that aggregates a whole bunch of information about students all in one spot right in Power School. So it is a very powerful tool, and it's one that we're committed to using to make our attendance even better.
Thank you, Dorothy. Inclusive programming, many opportunities, many examples, as you can see from this slide, for inclusive programming to serve and support our grades 7 to 12. Very proud of the work here. And if I could ask Vice Principal Christy Reitzma to speak to our work here, please.
Okay, so Sandy talked about the conversations and really looking at the data when we arrived at South Grenville. And what really stood out, what was happening that was going really well, our intermediate students, through the Tell It From Me data, were saying they felt a real strong sense of belonging, and they felt that their teachers and their parents had a real positive outlook and outcome for their education, and they had really strong feelings that connected to the school. So we wanted to take that, what was really happening in intermediate, and extend that culture of care to 7 to 12. What we noticed, what was different, was in 7 and 8 was a real focus on inclusion and students learning alongside each other, special education students, all students together learning in the regular classroom. So we moved from congregating students with special education needs and moved to a more inclusive, using a shared support, so all students were timetabled into classes based on their interests, their strengths, and their goals beyond 21. And what that has done is really allowed for a team approach, because this work requires a team. So it's really brought our EAs, our learning resource teachers, our parents, our community, our regional team really, really close. And because we've been all working together to make sure all our students have a successful pathway. And we're seeing improved attendance, we're seeing improved results, especially for our students with special education needs, and we're really seeing leadership opportunities for all our students and a real sense of belonging extending. And our Tell It From Me data is really showing on the graphs that all of our students, 7 to 12, are feeling a sense of belonging, that including all students has really improved their sense of academic, feeling close connected to the school. So we have all students working within the curriculum, earning credit the best way that they can that meets their needs.
Thank you, Christy. Another example, first item on this slide, grade 7 to 10 e-portfolios. This is another opportunity for us to bring our intermediate team staff working with our secondary team. And these e-portfolios, it's another way that we're going to move data from our grade 8 students over to our secondary students, so we capture the challenges and the strengths that our students have. The other piece here that I'm going to speak about it again, I'm very proud of, is the grade 7 to 12 cross-curricular literacy integration. As I talked about that earlier, I was very, very pleased. The South Grenville staff responded very, very well, and as I mentioned earlier, they took up the torch to lead the staff meetings focusing on literacy throughout the curriculum, across the curriculum, and the teachers are leading it. So nothing more wonderful than you see one of our tech teachers, building construction teachers, leading a staff meeting about literacy, partnering with our department head of language. It's wonderful modeling, and I could not be more proud of the staff at South Grenville for the cross-curricular work that they're doing for us. Also would like to just emphasize the last item on this slide here, the piloting of our iCoach interdisciplinary course. We piloted last semester, and very pleased to thank the senior team to support the opportunity to continue again the Tech Coach program with our school. And that is a further example where we have our secondary staff and students partnering with our intermediate classrooms. Extracurricular, many opportunities, as you can see from the slide, for extracurricular. Very proud, 3 years ago, we brought together and created the grade 7 to 12 Athletic Association. We have our elementary and secondary teachers planning together extracurricular opportunities for our students throughout our school. And also, most recently added this year is our Tell Them From Me Student Committee. That consists of 15 students, which represents our grades 7 to 12. So we do the Tell Them From Me survey, and so we thought, let's have the professionals, the people that we're surveying, have them as part of the team to interpret the data. So the students with admin have reviewed the data this past semester of the Tell Them From Me survey, and they look at 3 lenses. What makes sense, what doesn't make sense, or what is surprising, and what are you as a student, or what should we as a staff be concerned about? And very, very proud of that work. We have committed to meeting with the students on a quarterly basis on the Tell Them For Me Student Committee. And as a result of this work from our first meeting, we'll be meeting with our students in April to discuss a student-led project that has come from the survey. And so looking forward to sharing that information through our Facebook and Twitter as we move forward. So stay tuned for the student-led project coming from this group of students. So we saw all the red on our slide earlier about literacy and numeracy, and we've got a lot of work to do. And so that's what motivated 3 years ago, September, when the new admin team came together and said, listen, we're looking at the data. We got to change program delivery here. We got to start someplace. And so we created, after many conversations over a period of 2 years, we finally decided to launch our grade 9 program this past semester. So we have 1 semester behind us, and we refer to it as our IDEA program, Interdisciplinary Education for All. So just to start off the information sharing, this video was created by our grade 9 IDEA students.
South Grenville District High School is one of the first high schools to offer the IDEAS program for grade 9 students. These are the students' opinions after the first semester. What was your favorite subject in the IDEAS program?
Personally, my favorite subject in the IDEAS program was the Native Arts and Culture. We hadn't heard of it before, and once we got into it, it was a lot of fun with the different activities from totem poles to bracelets, soapstone.
How does the IDEAS program affect your performance in gym?
You get to know people better, so you have better teamwork skills.
What are some of the social benefits to being in the IDEAS program?
The IDEAS program allows everyone to become socially involved.
Was tech a good class to have in the IDEAS program?
Technology is a good class to have the IDEAS program because it blends well with other classes.
At South Grenville, we're one giant family, and we wouldn't prefer our grade 9 year of high school any other way. So thank you. Ideas. What will inspire you today?
So at this point in time, I'd like to ask Vice Principal Brent Brown to speak to our work.
So we are tremendously excited about this particular program. The origins of the program, 3 years ago when the school team got to South Grenville, we recognized there were some significant challenges for our students, and we wanted to come up with a new way of promoting teaching and learning within our grade 9 classrooms in particular, because we felt that in grade 9 it's so important. It's the most difficult transition that as a school group that we experienced, going from grade 8 to grade 9. The change from the structures that they and very highly structured system that they see in grade 8 versus the way that the timetable works in grade 9, where they have the 4 different classes and so much more independence. We found that was the biggest challenge for us from the standpoint of going forward in terms of their teaching and learning and those sorts of things. So what we decided to do was we had a conversation with Superintendent Coombs and Superintendent Dawes at Oxford Mills, and we started to brainstorm some ideas about how we could improve things for our grade 9 students. One of the things that really resonated with us was when Superintendent Dawes mentioned that incorporating technology in a more real, authentic way would help us to get where we needed to go in terms of improving the results for our students. On top of all of that, we really felt as a group that it was important to focus on a cross-curricular, project-based, technology-based program for our kids. So now what it looks like for the grade 9 students at South Grenville is, in one semester, each student that goes to school there will have geography, English, and the Native Arts course taught by one teacher, and for 225 minutes a day. So 3 of their 4 75-minute blocks are together with one single teacher, where in one semester they will take geography, English, and the arts, and in the second semester they will have integrated together science, mathematics, and the information technology class. it's provided a tremendous amount of flexibility for the classroom teacher who's now no longer limited by the 75-minute blocks that are artificially created in our timetable, because we have to have these 75-minute blocks, and we really felt that we need to do something to make grade 9 look a little bit more like grade 8 to help us ease that transition. So within those 225 minutes, now if they're in the science and math and technology, they have time that they can actually spend to do experiments that are real and authentic in their science class. And if it happens to take more than 75 minutes, then so be it. They have that flexibility to do that, as well as when they're looking at the different core learning outcomes, they can integrate math concepts in with the science concepts and bring in technology and have it hit expectations that are for all three of the subjects. And what we've discovered is that it's really improved the level of engagement from a teaching and learning perspective, but it's also really improved the relationship building that happens between the classroom teacher and the individual students. So what we're finding is the grade 9 teachers really and truly own those grade 9 kids, because they spend so much time with them over the course of the day. The last block of their day would then would be taken up by their French as a second language class, which is a compulsory class for grade 9, as well as in the other semester they would also have phys ed, and for our extended French program they could take phys ed in French, or in an alternating year they could take careers in civics in French, and that's a numbers based thing, so we have to flip-flop from year to year. So if we could move on to the next slide. We have just over one semester experienced some tremendous benefits from this particular pilot being started with our group here. Semester 1, we had a 100% credit attainment for our students in grade 9, which is it's tremendous, because we're that much closer now to our 16 by 16, which is such an important part of our students' success and getting to those graduation numbers that we need to get to. The other thing that we've discovered is a significant improvement in terms of our attendance as far as our grade 9 students. If you take a look at the numbers there, you can see that it's really and truly a tremendous increase in terms of the students being in the classes, and it goes to show the amount of change in attitude that the students have, because not only do their teachers own the students, but now the students are feeling like they own the teachers as well, so they want to be there every single day.
Thank you, Brent. So just to recap what Brent was saying, to emphasize, there's a tremendous safety net of care as a result of that relationship of 75% of the day is being spent with the same teacher. The other piece I want to really draw attention to is the fact that the schedule is adjustable. So as Brent mentioned, if things are going well and students are engaged in a project, you just keep going. And the piece here that we're hoping, we've just started, we're hoping to see new results, further results, is that focus on literacy across the subject area. Teachers, students are both saying we're writing more across all three subjects, and students can practice until they finally get it. So that aligns beautifully with the ability to master the work, the student to feel that they've mastered the work. So, Tell Them For Me survey, mentioned that a little earlier. This is, as you can see, the questions on the left are what represents the results on this bar graph you're looking at. The purple line represents our national standard, and so you can see that in grade 9 a year ago we were at approximately 6.6 after semester 1. So semester 1 a year ago, 6.6 indicator, and this past semester 1 we're at 7.6. So we're really, and this is going to be further conversation with our Tell Them For Me student committee. We really want to understand further what we have happening in grades 7, 8, and 9, and take that learning and move it to the 10 and 11 and 12 area. Our overall mean for our school is 7.3. So this was just one example about how it felt very good seeing the kids make a comment in result to some of these questions that represent that graph. So many successes happening, and still lots of work and many challenges to move forward on. So speaking to 3 items from here. Very proud of our weekly educational assistant meetings. Every Friday afternoon at 2:30, the school day is ended for our secondary 7 to 12 school, and our EAs get together with administration, and we talk and we meet with regards to what the successes were of the week and what are the challenges. What are the challenges that we experienced? And so we have EAs looking and sharing with us the challenges and how do we change up the schedule, what do we tweak or we adjust for the week going forward. So very proud of our educational assistants and their commitment to meet on the weekly basis on Friday afternoon. We usually meet from 2:30 to 3. And also that work complements our Monday 2:30 p.m. student success meetings. So basically it's our student success team. On average, 3 to 5 students, our names are submitted to our SST teacher, and these students, teachers will have concerns. They may be at risk, they may be challenging, whatever it may be, but they're experiencing challenges. So there's teacher concern about them socially, personally, and academically. And so that information is collected and during the course of the week, and then on the Monday at 2:30 p.m., teachers get together. Usually anywhere from 5 to 10 teachers come together from grades 7 to 12, depending on the students that are brought forward. At these meetings as well, sometimes you'll have students sitting in to basically help us understand, parents joining us, and also our community partners in some case, our community agencies that we partner with. So the work between the educational assistants on Friday and the information that is happening with our student success team, our teachers coming together, a great commitment from staff to support our kids going forward. And that's where the real brainstorming and troubleshooting is happening at those meetings. The third item which I see coming together as one point really is very proud of our very supportive Parent-School Council at South Grenville. And our monthly meetings, there's a great turnout, but there's always a high level of concern and involvement of how they can help us. And that partners with our multiple community partners. We've created a community partners room at South Grenville, which is open to any of our community agencies that want to utilize that space during the school day, whether it's meeting with colleagues or meeting with clients. So, going forward, our math scores are low. Our math team, as I mentioned, we have a focus on our grade 9 applied math, and that's our grade 7 to 9 teachers getting together with a focus on digging through not only our EQO data, but our classroom data, and basically trying various strategies in a measured way, establishing targets going forward, and seeing what the impact of a specific strategies are on the effect of the teaching learning. So that's our organized work going forward. Continued focus with our 7 to 12 cross-curricular literacy team, as well as our 7 to 10 literacy continuum team, which, as I mentioned earlier, bringing closer our grade 6 teachers from our elementary feeder schools. And after 2-year implementation of our IDEAS program, we have 1 semester behind us. We have another semester coming up, and we'll be doing a major debriefing with all staff involved at the end of this coming semester, as we did at the end of semester 1. We're going to look at running it for the next 2 years, so next year, and then we'll look at what our learning has been, and based on our increased staff capacity, feedback from staff and admin will look and see what benefits we can take moving forward to, say, our grade 10. So thank you very much for having us here this evening, and we invite you to come to South Grenville. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Sandy, Dorothy, Christy, and Moran. Comments or questions? Let's start on the telephone lines.
Yes, Chair, I have a question with regard to the whole issue of wellness and communication, and in particular relationships. Yes. My first question is to Principal McGinnis. Is your staff happy and engaged both as employees of the board and as members of EPCO and OSSTF? And my second question is your school viewed as a hub? especially by the local political councils in the town of Prescott, South Edwardsburg, and Augusta.
Through you, Chair. So I would say to your first question that yes, our staff are happy. Our staff are very involved and engaged in our work. And secondly, yes, I would strongly say and believe and feel that South Grenville District High School is indeed a community hub, well used by our community partners, our community agencies. It comes to life at the end of the school day, whether it's our learning commons being used by the community or whether it's our gymnasiums being used. And if I remember correctly, I think we have approximately 135 community hours on average being booked monthly through our school.
Thank you.
Trustees here at the table. Trustee McDonald.
Just a question on the Ideas program. You said you're going to make a decision as to whether it continues. Do you mean continues in grade 9 or continues on throughout the school? And before you answer that, I'll give you something else to respond to as well. Are you going to, or have you considered, and will you consider asking the question to the students as well?
Through you, Chair. So continuing in grade 9, and like all new things, you never really truly understand the impact until you actually do it. So semester 1, we had great learning. We want to have 4 semesters, one of 2 years. And in those 2 years, we want to see what learning we can take to truly implement, if we can, into the area of grade 10. And the answer to your second question is, and excuse me, I think I just forgot your second question.
Asking the kids.
Oh, asking kids, yes, by all means. Through you, Chair, the surveying the students, yes, absolutely. And we've already had those conversations in our first Tell Them From Me meeting, the student input.
One more.
So the success you've got true data for one semester, and I can appreciate that, and certainly you need some to be able to make an informed decision. Is it on the path that you were hoping it to be? And obviously some of your numbers seem to support that. Attendance, visits to the office, those types of things. I guess sustainability is the next piece, right? You always, out of the hopper, you're going to get something good, and then is it going to be sustainable? So even though you want to have 4 semesters of information before you make a decision about, yay or nay kind of scenario, you're still tracking data. Are you planning to make tweaks to it as it moves along to make sure that you're keeping it relevant to meeting the needs of your staff and your students?
Through you, Chair. Yes, we're looking at reviewing it, tweaking it. After our first debriefing session with the teachers, we were, with the positive influence and feedback from our teachers, we were very pleased that it had as much success as it did in semester 1. We did a great deal of planning. There were multiple conversations with anyone and everyone that would listen, just because not really looking for anything, because usually when we had this conversation with some of the senior team folks, they're saying, okay, so what do you need? Do you need extra staff? No. We created it, and I like your comment about sustainability. We created it with what we currently get. So it's currently, it's been created under the current staffing allocation. So the cost is the same as regular staffing. And so our key with our program was, is it sustainable? After seeing semester 1, having I guess we met for 2/3 of the day with all the teachers involved in the debrief, and we talked about challenges, we talked about successes, we talked about what we were surprised, what surprised us, what we were pleased about. And for us, for a program to be successful, the key piece for us is the increasing teacher capacity. So as we've moved through semester one, proud of the fact that our teachers were willing to try it. Very proud of our teachers that they were willing to try it, and we have other teachers now outside of the Ideas program, talking about it, looking at it with curious eyes, and also feeling the success. So in going forward, the key thing for us will be our teacher capacity in order to make sure that we're doing something to increase the teaching effectiveness for our students.
Trustee Cartner.
Couple of questions or comments, and then a question, Principal McGuinness. I really like the idea of hearing the student voice and letting them be part of the evaluation and planning with their Tell Them From Me that you've got started. I understand this is the first year that you've tried this?
Yes.
Okay, and also your Ideas program, it sounds quite interesting with my elementary background, and it's kind of the way we taught in my day, but that was ages ago. My question for you is, grade 6, do you have any communication with grade 6 teachers as far as the math and what they have been doing in the past for the grade 7 students that are coming into you each September?
Through you, Chair, thank you for the positive comments, Trustee Cartner. And yes, we do. We have regular communication with our grade 6 teachers based on what the grade 6s have been doing and the data coming from the grade 6 teachers. And that's why we would like to explore that deeper and have them at the table with the grade 7 to 9 and the grade 7 to 9 math teachers and the grade 7 to 10 literacy teachers.
Thank you.
Trustee McPherson.
Through the chair, a couple of questions. This Ideas program is very intriguing. My question is I got two questions on this and then one on something else. Do these students still rotate between classrooms? Like my image of a grade 9 class is the bell rings. Does teacher and students move, or do you congregate them in one spot for those 3 periods, like the 225 minutes?
Through you, Chair, they stay with the same teacher for the 3 periods. Now, we also have a multi-purpose ideas room where they may go to do various projects, so it's a breakout room, and in some cases, what we'll do is we may bring together, say, 2 or 3 of our math, grade 9 idea math classes. In the past fall, we brought together the 3 idea science classes, and they were working together in the ideas room, the multi-purpose room, and trying out various experiments, and then went together as a group to our football field. And so we do have them, they go to other locations. Sometimes they'll also go as a group to the computer lab and work there as a group. The thing that we want to see grow as well is the bringing together of the 2 or 3 classes in the multi-purpose room and have further teacher collaboration happening in that area.
Second question through the chair. Is this targeted to any particular group of students? Applied, academic, essentials?
Through you, Chair. In these classes, these are all of our grade 9 students, and it's applied, it's academic, it's all.
Everybody,
all
all
students.
means all.
Yes.
Okay. Third question and final one, taking up a lot of time here. When you're doing your grade 10 math grade 9 math, grade 10 literacy, I haven't seen any mention of the essential students. Do they fall under the applied program, or are they not part of the final tally?
For you, Chair, our essential students are part of everything that you see. They're part of our applied, they're part of our academic. We are working, that's our number one goal, is basically differentiation and accommodation and modifications for all of our students being in the same classroom.
So they're not automatically excused from writing the grade 10 words.
We try not to. In some cases, they are. Yes.
Okay, I realize that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. I'm more of a comment than a question. Very evident that South Grenville's got the team approach at the school, and I commend you for that innovative program in bridging the gap between the elementary and the secondary students. That team approach is very evident because you brought other administrators with you, and you had those administrators participate in the presentation, and gave them a very good learning experience, I think, as far as being on the hot seat when they become a principal and have to do their own presentation. So I commend you for all of that. Hopefully your approach will help your OSSLT first-time writers be more successful in what currently is happening. So I commend you for what you're doing.
Good.
Thank you.
Anyone else on the telephone lines?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Chair.
Go ahead.
I just want to commend Sandy and his whole team on the work they've been doing over the last 3 years. I see it when I go to the school. I see it in the students' pride in their school. And it's not just senior administration. It's the teachers, it's the janitorial staff, it's the office administrators. They care about the kids there. And I see the community being more involved in South Grenville and the pride in South Grenville. And I want to give big kudos to all the innovative ideas that you're implementing now. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Okay, before I say goodbye, and thank you, you've heard me talk at the table about the Achieving Excellence document and the 4 renewed goals that the ministry has set out. And when you look at that document in detail, innovation and finding innovative ways of engaging kids is central. It's part of it. They talk about project-based learning and how important that is. And as I was watching you present, I was just thinking of the recent news that just came out of Finland, where Finland has now dropped subjects in place of topics in integration. And that integration is also in the Achieving Excellence document. And it sounds like you people are moving in a great direction. We as a board, I think, really have to applaud you for the courage to move forward and finding ways to encourage your kids. And I think you're doing a wonderful job. So thank you so much for your presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm just going to do that. And I'd also like to like to thank Nancy Hanna. Thank you, Nancy. Mary Gardner, I know the work you do. I've told you many times. I taught you. I know how proud you know how proud I am of that little guy that I taught in grade 6, sitting at the back of the room. I know the hard work you do with all of these teams at communities. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving forward. Under the careful leadership of Trustee John McAllister, the board has been undergoing a review of all policies. And once again, we have one more policy that has come before us, and it's the policy 417, expressions of sympathy. And I'm going to turn that over to the owner of this policy, Director Patterson.
Well, thank you very much, Chair McMillan. We looked at this policy, which was last revised in 2006, and upon review of the policy, we felt that there were no changes required. So we bring it to you this evening as written or as revised in June 2006.
Are there any comments or questions regarding this policy? Trustee McPherson.
Just out of curiosity, from time to time we lower the flags. That's not part of this policy. It's a separate policy. Okay.
Okay. Now, I know in the last meeting we had concerns about whether or not we had any need to have a motion for these. What I would like to do for this meeting is, seeing that we have been doing this in the past, not making a drastic change at this point, And with that thinking, what I'm going to do is ask for a motion that the Committee of the Whole recommend the Upper Canada District School Board approve Policy 417, Expressions of Sympathy as reviewed with no revisions, March 25th, 2015. Can I get a mover for that? Trustee McDonald?
So moved, Chair.
Pardon me?
So moved.
Thank you very much. Trustee McAllister? Comments, discussions? Cast your vote, please. And Trustee Gardner?
I'm in favor.
Thank you, that carries. Thank you so much. Moves us on to the next item, and this is a financial forecast for 2014 and 2015. And I'm going to turn this over to Superintendent Nancy Barclay. But in doing that, I just want to really emphasize the point that, you know, if I was doing my finances for my house, I know exactly what's coming in, exactly what's going out, and I control every ounce of the spending. There's always so many other factors that come in. So this is our best guess at where we are at this point in time, and keeping that in the back of our minds, it should cast some clarity on what Nancy can tell us. So I turn this over to you. We're getting a little bit of
Sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I believe, at least for the first time in my recollection, this is the first time that we've brought to the board a forecast at this point in the financial year. And of course, that is in accordance with the performance-focused budgeting departmental updates to board, the key result indicator number 7 that requires us to do this. So tonight we're going to present the second financial forecast for the 14-15 year. Before I start, the first financial forecast, you may recall, which was based upon the revised estimates, was presented January 14th, and this latest forecast is an update to that information. This forecast is based upon, thank you, more current information, including actual October 31st enrollment, which has now been finalized, which was not the case when I was here, or we were here in January. As well, it reflects updated March 31st enrollment projections provided by the Planning Department as of this month. It also reflects actual expenses up to the end of February and projected expenses out to the end of August or the fiscal year. Consultation with and input from budget owners regarding their budget plans for the remainder of the fiscal year were key to this. And that was expanded this time around. So for the first time, we also solicited input from our schools as to where they believe they will end up by the end of the year. So the information is recent and hot off the press, if you like. So this slide you've seen now 2 or 3 times. I like to show this slide because it kind of orients us as to where we are in the business cycle. So last time the Q1 forecast was presented in January, so now you know we're in March, but according to the cycle, the 14-15, it's time for the 14-15 forecast. So just before I go to the next slide, what you're going to see in this presentation, and because it's the first time we've presented a forecast at this time of the year, it's a view of how the board is trending financially for this year based on the information that we have at this point. Also, whereas at budget time and when we have the audited financial statements, it's a more comprehensive presentation where we actually show the income statement. If it's financial statements, it's the audited income statement and balance sheet and the ministry compliance. For the purposes of these quarterly updates, because they are updates, we focused in on the compliance aspect of it, which still shows
what the change is from the last forecast. So we're not reporting on every number, but we are certainly highlighting material changes that we're projecting, or that administration is projecting for the rest of the year. So this slide shows the enrollment, as I said, updated. And when it was presented in January, the numbers were captured at November 21st. And that was really to feed the revised estimate submission to the ministry. So they were quite dated by the time we brought this in January. At that time, though, you may recall that secondary enrollment was looking like it was going to come in lower than the original projections. But also at that time, I talked about the fact that because we were in January, planning had reason to believe and had collected more data that October 31st enrollment would improve once all the numbers were in. So in fact, the data on this slide and the top chart where you see financial forecast number 2, those are the numbers from the planning department as of March 19th, actual October, projected March, and we've compared back to the original estimates. So you will see that the elementary and secondary panels, and in particular the secondary numbers, have come back, are projected to come back close, so basically very close to the original projections. The purpose of the graphs at the bottom is really just a visual to show you the trending of the enrollment at the different reporting times over the year. They are not intended to exaggerate the absolute numbers of enrollment, but show you in particular in secondary where it looked like we were having a dip, in fact, has come back. The next slide is similar to what you saw at revised estimates, where we break out the enrollment projection pupils of the board, which feed the calculation of the grants from the ministry, and the other pupils, which are really our tuition fee paying students. The purpose of this view of the data is simply to show that although our pupils of the board are in fact projected to be down compared to original estimates in the secondary panel, there is basically an equivalent offset, an increase in our other pupils or our tuition fee paying students. And again, the visuals at the bottom are just to show you that trend. So in looking at the consolidation of all of the input from the various budget owners, including the schools, we are projecting improvement from the last time you saw the projection for the 14-15 year. As I talked about before, we're talking about compliance, and compliance is the ministry's measurement of a balanced budget. It does not mean that expenses equal revenue like you would at home. However, the ministry's calculation is of the board's financial results after adding and removing various expenses and revenues, for example, employee future benefits that we're continuing to fund, and compares the deficit, if there is one, which in our case there is a projected deficit now of $1.8 million, and compares that to 1% of our operating allocation. If we are within that, and in our case our operating allocation 1% is usually around $3 million, so if we're within that and we have accumulated surplus stored away to cover that deficit, then we're considered compliant. So in this case, we've moved from a projection of $2.8 million deficit at revised estimates time, and now our best estimate is $1.8 million. So that's an improvement of about $950,000 at this point in time. what are some of the material reasons contributing to that change? Of course, we have our increase in GSNs because of the under 21 enrollment. That's basically our secondary enrollment that has come back, $320,000. We have some expenses that are projected to end up more favorably than originally thought by the end of the year. The first one, staffing. What that is a projection based on how the costs have been trending or are trending so far this year. Just to be clear, the supply teachers on that line are centrally charged supply teachers, not school budgets. And so we're expecting an improvement there of about $150,000. Trustees and board administration, this improvement is based strictly on input from the budget owners in those areas to the tune of $150,000. School-based principals and vice principals, a projected improvement of $180,000. This is really because due to the efforts really of Director Patterson and the other superintendents around the table, throughout the year, as there have been one retirement at least, any time that there's been a principal or a vice principal either retire or being away for, could be a very short period of time, could be several weeks, rather than just bringing in a replacement principal or vice principal and incur incremental costs. This group has really worked hard to minimize the impact, minimize any incremental costs, and have shifted and been creative in shifting resources throughout the system, including from the board office to schools, in order to not add cost to the 14-15 expenses. So that's been beneficial to the tune of $180,000 so far. Ready for Summer is a gain of $280,000. There's been a decision to discontinue this program this summer. However, in terms of summer camps or summer programming for children, we have received quite a significant amount of money through the Council of Directors of Education, $225,000 for summer learning programs. So literacy and numeracy in our schools this summer for Upper Canada students. So that increased revenue is definitely going to partially, if not completely, offset the Ready for Summer loss. So we're moving from 4 sites last year to 15 sites for this program this summer. Coordinating administrative principals, a small projected improvement on that line, $40,000. That relates to budget owner input, and this is the non-salary and benefit budget for coordinating administrative principals. So the projection is that what was budgeted will not completely be needed. One item that is trending the other way, or and also based on school principal input this time, is school budgets. So we expect at this point that school budgets will be there will be more spending on school budgets than originally thought. This does not at this time project that there will be a net deficit or anything like that. There will still be a net surplus in school budgets. It's just that it will be, is projected to be lower than it was previously. So those are really the significant contributing factors to the change in the outlook for this year, totaling about $950,000. So the top half of this slide, many of you have seen many times. So this is the calculation based on the ministry formula of compliance. So this is showing again a projected deficit for compliance purposes of $1,828,783. It falls within the allowable 1% of 3.1 million. We have accumulated surplus of 7.8 million, so an ample amount to cover the $1.8 million deficit. The graph at the bottom is just to show you from the different reporting periods so far this year. We were at original estimates time, we were very close to the compliance threshold, sitting at an expected $3 million deficit, a slight improvement in at revised estimates time, which you saw in January, and now more of an improvement is projected. And the board is still projecting ministry compliance. The final slide is partially what you've seen before. We tend to show the accumulated surplus schedule. We call it Schedule 5 in the back office. What we've presented here is a condensed version of that with not all the details line by line. However, it does show at line 3 the $1.9 million projected deficit at this point in time and what the impact is on the accumulated surplus. So the $6 million is an improvement. That's where we would project we'd be sitting. It was 5.1 at revised estimates time. At the top, the unappropriated, sitting at 3.5. It was 2.4 the last time we looked at these numbers. So in both cases, both amounts are approaching or getting closer to the targets that the board approved that we were to strive for over time. So that's good news. The total accumulated deficit projected to be $10.7 million. $10.7 million. Again, not going through the details of the externally appropriated, but in there are the employee future benefits that we have to continue to fund. And the good news is that the 10.7 negative number there certainly looked bleaker a few years ago, so it's going in the right direction still. So that is what we have to present. It's based on the best information we have at this point. I did not go to the extent this time of going through potential risks and opportunities and all those kinds of things, but of course they're still out there and numbers change and circumstances change, and we just continue to try to keep an eye on the dollars, minimize where we can, and then we'll ramp up again to provide a third forecast in May. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
That's quite a bit, thank you. Comments, questions? Start with the telephone lines.
Through you, Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
It said that the school budgets have gone up, but did we not direct them as a board, or did we not have schools look at their budgets to see why they weren't spending the money last year?
Through you, Chair.
Sorry.
Yes, Trustee Swan, we had a project, a crew project, R34, school budget surpluses, or school budget planning, I think it was called. And certainly attention was drawn to the fact that there were large surpluses, or perceived to be large surpluses, in school budget balances, and it caused us to have a challenging time when we went to our revised estimates and trying to remain compliant. So that is one of the reasons, and one of the actions actually coming out of that was to have schools project, and not saying that schools have not been projecting on their own to manage their budgets, but this is the first time that we have asked them to provide that projection to us so that we have a better sense and not be surprised at the end of the year. We have a better sense of where they're trending along with the rest of the organization.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments, questions at the table? Trustee McDonald?
Thank you. In section 2, the available for compliance but internally appropriated, the 2.1 decrease this year, what was that in relation to?
The 2.1 decrease in the the internally appropriated, available for compliance, sorry, through you, Chair. That decrease was mainly the plan to use accumulated surplus for our computer refresh, $1.8 million. At this point in time, that is still in this forecast. That's the bulk of the $2 million.
Mr. McDonald?
So it's there still, so it hasn't been decreased yet, is what you're saying?
Through you, Chair. On row 2, where the negative 2.1, that is planning to use the 1.8 of accumulated surplus. So we have the budgeted 1.8 million for expenses. If we actually do that, then we would use 1.8 of accumulated surplus. The other piece in there is the reduction in school budget balances projected right now at the end of the year.
One last question?
Yeah, just to follow up to that.
Certainly.
So overall, in line 5, total accumulated surplus and deficit, I know there are 2 specific areas that we need to focus on. And from a PSAB and a ministry standpoint, line 3 is an important aspect to understand that we have what we have available for compliance purposes. And the threshold is about 3 million in change. But the 10.7 in line 5, is that something that we really need to worry about? Or is it, as long as we're compliant, that can continue to grow and grow and grow and grow?
Through you, Chair. If you mean grow in which direction?
Well, the wrong direction.
The wrong direction, yeah. No, that's not something that we would want. A negative equity position is not a good thing. We want to continue to reduce that, and the challenge in doing that is to fund the employee future benefits, so the retirement gratuities, as we go along.
So with respect to the retirement gratuities, we knew that that was a 12-year commitment, 13-year commitment?
Through you, Chair. The ministry is reducing the funding that apparently is in the Pupil Foundation grant over 12 years. We have to fund our liability over 9 years because that's the estimated remaining average service life of our particular group of employees who are eligible or will be eligible for a gratuity. So it's over 9 years.
So as we continue to deal with that liability of sorts to be able to offset the retirement gratuities and or the retirement piece, we need to balance the other pieces as well. So we've got to allocate, this year it was $7 million roughly into that portion. As we do that, if we continue to spend at the same rate, we'll continue to add to that deficit if we don't make any other adjustments. Is that correct?
Through you, Chair, just for clarification, the 7.2, I didn't show the details. About 4 million is employee future benefits there. We also have an amount in there of 3 million for land, because that's the offset to our land on the balance sheet. So, yeah, we need to continue to plan. We need to generate a surplus, really, each year to continue to fund those employee future benefits. So I didn't show the income statement, but if you look at line 5 on the slide, the 5.3 million today is the surplus that you would see on the income statement. So we have to generate a surplus of that amount, mainly, not completely, but mainly to fund employee future benefits.
The final piece then?
Yes.
So I guess to sum it up, and where my concern is that even though we've had success in reducing it by about $950,000 this year, it's a drop in the bucket, and we almost need to make sure, we don't almost need to, we need to ensure that there is no deficits from year to year. In fact, as you said, we need to make sure that there's a surplus. So knowing that we've got until August 31st, can we further reduce that $950,000 that we still have remaining in a deficit situation to make sure that it's a zero budget, or at least as close to zero as possible? Are there other areas that we can address?
Through you, Chair. We continue to look for opportunities, similar to, the principal, vice principal shifting is a good example of that. I can't say with certainty that we can make that zero. We still have the second semester enrollment to come in. These are projections. We still have, there may be opportunities that present themselves, and there may be also some things that impact us negatively that we don't even know about yet. Certainly, we will look for every opportunity to improve that number, but I can't say with certainty that it's going to be zero.
You can tell.
Question, Chair?
Yeah, I'm going to come back to you. Trustee McAllister, go ahead.
I want to congratulate Trustee Nancy for her very transparent and clear presentation here. I do have a question with regard to the 1.8 million, which is the end-year deficit, versus the 3.1 compliance threshold. It seems to me that we're on the right trend, yet there was a motion on the books last year that expenditures gradually meet revenues so that we have a truly balanced budget. Can you give any kind of a forecast, Nancy, as to when we might be at that state?
Through you, Chair, Trustee McAllister, I can't give you a definitive forecast of exactly when we will reach that point. When you have your planning session, April 15th, we will have more information at that time as to a longer-term outlook and a first cut at what we believe the timelines would be to actually get to that point, to meet that motion that was approved in terms of the level of accumulated surplus.
Trustee McAllister, anything else?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you. Trustee McDonald?
A question relates to the current in-year budgets for departments in different areas. Knowing that we've got, the remainder of a school year and then 2 months potentially that we have reduced expenses in some areas but increased expenses in other areas because of schools being less occupied so that we can do some main activities. Are we on target for our current budgets from a percentage standpoint, I guess, to make sure that we have spent what was required within the, how many months are we into this? 7 months into this year's budget? Are we on target for what our spending is? In areas that may not be on target, is it primarily expenses that would come at the end of our fiscal year normally?
Through you, Chair. Based on this forecast, we're $950,000 better than being on target with original budgets. There are, and in addition to doing these quarterly projections, we do look on a monthly basis, not every line, but basically the departments, and see where they're trending, because as you say, some lines there's more spending at the end of the year than the beginning of the year. I can tell you there are no budgets right now, because we're keeping a close eye on it, that are projected to pierce the 3%, where we would need to, someone would need to talk with the director and come back with a remedy. I'm not sure if that answers your question.
I didn't expect the details. I knew you wouldn't have the details precisely, but what the reassurance piece, I guess, is that it is being monitored on a regular basis and a monthly basis, and whatever case it might be, and we want to make sure that A, there's nothing that's pushing the 3%, and B, is there somebody sitting on a lump of money that shouldn't be? And if it's a lump of money that is normally spent in the last 3 months of a year, that's understandable. But if it's a lump of money that should have been consumed by now, we should be at about 60% of our budget allotments right now.
Through you, Chair. We're basing what we're presenting on the input from budget owners. And that's a bit of a change. It's new for the organization. So, so we're basing these numbers on that. We don't know of any big pot of money that's not going to be spent. But it is possible. I can't say with certainty. But there's nothing that's alarming us at this point in time. I don't know if that's helpful, but.
Any other comments or questions? Well, I know that Trustee McAllister elevated you to the position of trustee.
I know.
But I'm going to put you back down to your position of superintendent. And I want to say, I know that so many of us trustees have so much confidence in you and so much trust in you, and I thank you so much for the presentation. Okay, the next on the item, 6.03, is a call for policy resolutions and proposed amendments to OPSPA Constitution. I'm going to turn that over to OPSPA Director David McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to put this on the agenda just in case there are any trustees who wanted to bring something forward to OPSPA. As you indicated at the last meeting, there's an opportunity for individuals and boards to make those recommended changes to either the policy or bylaw or constitution. At this time, it's up for discussion between April 1st and up to the AGM. Anything that would move forward would be voted on at the AGM at the beginning of June. Typical process would be that if individuals or boards had something that they wanted to bring it up at the board, attempt to get an endorsement from the board, and then send it off into OPSPA. OPSPA would send it out to the regional meetings that are held the second week of April for discussion at regions, and then brought back in to discuss at the Board of Directors for April 22nd, I think it is. So if we have anything as a board that we'd like to bring forward, now is an opportunity to bring that to discussion and bring it forward to OPSPA. Anything that is brought forward by other individuals or other boards will be coming back to us as a group for a comment, review, and suggestions, so that myself and or Trustee McAllister could speak to it at the April Board of Directors meeting. And certainly, based on that Board of Directors meeting, we'll have a decision on what's being handled at the AGM. So if there is anything or any suggestions from trustees, I'd be happy to deal with those. And if not, it certainly was a placeholder just for an opportunity for us to have that discussion.
Are there any comments, questions? Trustee Cartner?
Prior to the meeting, I had asked Trustee McDonald about this and whether there was a motion coming forward that he was familiar with on increasing the fees. Now, normally we don't want to increase fees, but we understand that OPSPA is now is our negotiator with the government, and there's a lot of time and energy spent on that particular item, as well as the other documents that are presented to the ministry. And I just feel that the time that is allotted to the people to do it it's not fair. But he tells me that this is coming forward from the Board of Directors, where there's been a committee formed to discuss membership fee increase. So I think it is being dealt with, and probably a motion will be coming forward from at an annual meeting and before.
I suspect this will be at our April Board of Directors meeting, and it's based on comments and votes at previous AGMs to have this review. as indicated previously, there haven't been any adjustments on the fee structure for some time. In fact, we've been frozen, so typically if you had an increase in enrollment, you would pay more in your fees, or if you had a decrease in enrollment, you would pay less. The freeze allowed them to maintain the status quo of fees, so some boards, in fact, didn't get a decrease. They were maintaining their current rate, but unfortunately, those boards that should have seen an increase didn't see it as well. So this will certainly take that off of the frozen side of things, and will hopefully generate some additional revenue. And the complexities now are that in the past, member boards could choose to eliminate themselves from OPSPA. At this point, in order for you to be an English public school board, you have to be a member of OPSPA in order to take part in the negotiation process. So it's a bit of a catch-22, but it's a good thing for OPSPA that we have that process in place, and the money that is required to come forward. So I think you'll probably have a lot of that more information. I spoke briefly on it in a previous report, but some of that those details were still forthcoming, and we should have it for April 20. Well, post April 22nd anyway.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions on the telephone lines? I know Trustee McPherson always wonders why I look up. I don't know why I do that. It just seems to be they're up there. Is there anyone else? Trustee McDonald, thank you so much for that report. Okay, I need a motion to move the committee back into the regular board meeting, committee of the whole back to regular board. Moved by Trustee McDonald, Trustee McPherson, that the committee of the whole move back into regular board meeting, March 25th, 2015. I ask you to cast your votes. And everyone's in favor. Thank you so much. Report from the private session, Committee of the Whole, March the 11th, 2015. At the private session of the Committee of the Whole, March 11, 2015, 2 contractual matters were discussed, and 1 recommendation was brought forward to the board. And if you recall, that recommendation dealt with the parameters that would be used in terms of negotiation. And I'm going to ask for a motion. I'll read those out, actually, instead of reading it twice. I'll get it moved by Trustee McDonald, seconded by Trustee Cram, that the Upper Canada District School Board approve the following parameters. Number 1, the goal of negotiation is to reach a fair and equitable agreement owned by both parties. Agreements must support the improvement of teaching and learning and ensure the flexible delivery of programs throughout the board. Local negotiations must ensure that matters agreed to are fully funded so that the board can remain fiscally responsible. Number 4, provincial negotiations cannot destabilize management of school boards or affect the relationship of one board with another. And number 5, further encroachment upon management rights will not be permitted. I ask you to cast your votes. And that carries. A report from the Committee of the Whole, March 11th, 2015. There were 2 presentations and 3 discussion items were shared with the Committee of the Whole meeting, and the following 6 recommendations were brought forward to the board. The first motion deals with the, it was basically the last motion we were dealing with, and I apologize for my frustration at the point, but I asked that we move this to this meeting. So we're going back to a motion that I probably should have dealt with better, but it's here. And it's the motion that the Upper Canada District School Board direct administration to report back to the Board of Trustees in February of each year for 2016, 2017, and 2018 regarding the progress of these strategies to support French programming, include any key result indicators necessary to achieve positive results. I need a mover. Trustee Cartner, Trustee McDonald. Ask you to cast your votes. That carries. Thank you very much. Motion number 2. This deals with the rescinding the original motion, and then the motion that follows is the new motion. Motion that the Upper Canada District School Board rescind the following motion as carried on September 24th, 2014, whereas the Upper Canada District School Board has the mandate and capacity to capture all students, and whereas the Upper Canada District School Board provide excellent programming in all schools, be it resolved that the director devise a strategy by the second meeting in January 2015 for increasing the capture rate for each school, and that this goal be included in the school success plan. I need a mover.
Peter Garrow.
Peter Garrow, seconded by Trustee McDonald. I ask you to cast your votes, please. And that carries with 1 opposed. Takes us to motion 3, which is basically the follow-up from that. That the Board of Trustees request the director to share the present capture rate with principals of schools, and request that principals beginning September 2015 develop strategies, support our 1% system goals to increase the capture rate, and to build strategies into their success plan September 2016. Moved by Trustee Cram, Trustee McPherson.
To make a friendly amendment notice.
Always one. Cast your vote, please. And that carries. Thank you very much. The next 3 motions come forward out of the discussion over the policies of director process, given a director. We don't have numbers attached to these at this point in time, but we can go back and get exact numbers, but right now we're just going to call them policies. Is everyone's okay with that? On the motion that the Upper Canada District School Board approve the new policy recruitment and selection of the director as submitted to the Committee of the Whole March the 11th, 2015. Moved by Trustee McDonald. Trustee McPherson, cast your votes, please. And that carries. Thank you so much. Motion number 5, that the Upper Canada District School Board approve the new policy role of the Board of Trustees as submitted to the Committee of the Whole March the 11th, 2015. Moved by Trustee McDonald. Anyone on the phone? Trustee Cram, thank you very much. I should have cast your votes. That carries. Just 1 abstention, that's an opposed. Number 6, motion number 6, that the Upper Canada District School Board approve the new policy role of the director as submitted to Committee of the Whole, March the 11th, 2015. Motion
So
moved by Trustee McAllister.
Peter.
Trustee Garrow, thank you. Cast your votes, please. Thank you very much. That carries. That moves us on to 8.03, report of the Ontario Public School Boards Association, Director David McDonald.
Chair, I don't really have much to report on other than just save the dates. You have labor relations that is taking part beginning tomorrow evening, Friday, Saturday. Certainly that will be an opportunity for trustees across the province and senior negotiators to get an update on the status of labor relations. April 11th is a regional OPSPA meeting that's is tentatively set for Petawawa, and then April 20, I said the 22nd earlier, I believe it's the 24th is the next Board of Directors meeting, and the OPSPA AGM is June 11th, 12th, 13th. So certainly just save the dates for those, and if you're interested in the AGM, we need to know as soon as possible so that Lisa can firm up things with the hotel. As I said, Board of Directors and regional meetings will be coming up. I don't have more information to share with you at this point. I'll continue to sell out. I stopped doing that. Send out the labor relations bulletins as they come through. There haven't been many updates, obviously with March break and different things happening. So that's all I have to report at this point, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Thank you. Director, do you have any comments?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
She's got a book full.
Just have two.
Okay.
First of all, I'd like to let folks know that Upper Canada welcomed 50 grade 5 and 6 students from Suzhou, China, from the Suzhou International Foreign Language School. These 50 grade 5 and 6 students are accompanied by 5 teachers, and they're currently in 10 of our elementary schools, and they'll be spending the next 3 months with us. And we're very, very pleased to have these students in our midst. And I want to take a moment to thank particularly Superintendent Tim Mills and Acting Executive Director of our UCLC, Matt Raby, for all the work that they do in international education and really demonstrating to the board, to the province, to Canada, and to the world that we are a leader in international education. It's something that we should be very proud of. It enriches our lives and enriches the lives of the students who come to Upper Canada as well. So certainly thank you to those folks, and I hope that you're in one of the 10 schools and you have a chance to either meet with some of the students or the 5 teachers in the next few months. And secondly, tomorrow is a very important day in our secondary schools. Our secondary students will write the Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test tomorrow, otherwise known as OSSLT. It's a significant milestone in a secondary student's journey, and we wish our students every success tomorrow. I'd also like to thank our principals and staff for their leadership and their commitment to the improvement of student learning. I know that all of our secondary schools have devoted considerable attention and time to the preparation for students for the OSSLT, and I'm very confident that they will achieve success tomorrow. So good luck to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess my closing comments, I always, March break time, I always worry because so many of you people just go to all parts of the world. Some even go to Asia. And the travel that's involved, and I always feel good when we all get back together and I know everyone's arrived safe from their journeys. And you always hear about tragedy in the news. And so it always lurks in the back of our mind. But I know that when we were away and when you were away, Director, that Nancy Barkley took over the ship while you were gone, and I want you to know that she did a wonderful job, even though I was not in the country at the time, but she kept in touch with me, so I thank you very much for holding the fort down. We didn't sell too many things, did we? There you go. Trustee McDonald and I were at the National School Board in United States. And we focused heavily on data this time around. We focused on data in the past, but what we did is we went through looking at everything that was being offered and made a decision that we would focus on data. And actually, it was data analysis. So we've now covered the data first. We're looking at how do we present the numbers. And so now we've become a little bit more knowledgeable in terms of how to analyze that data. And once you analyze, what's the action that comes from it. So that was our focus down there. It was very enriching. And I think, like I'm sure I can speak for you, Trustee McDonald, that when you sit in a room with 8,000 trustees from all across the United States and Alberta and Ontario, and you hear them, they hand out an award called the Magna Award, which they give out to three schools, the three school boards across the United States for innovation. And you listen to what they're rewarding for innovation and you think, wow, we've got lots of people back home that would win this hands down. And it's not a knock on the American system. It's just, I think, a pat on the back of where we are in the province of Ontario. And you know, we want to be the best that we can possibly be, but I can tell you we're certainly on the path to being great. And that's evident when you get together with other school boards from around the world. And the thing is, they're all facing the same problems. The issues are basically the same, whether you're from New Mexico or you're from wherever, Albuquerque, all those different places. And I want to thank David for being a great roommate. You're a good guy to travel with. I appreciate that. So I'm glad every one of us are back safe and sound. Nancy, thank you again for that report tonight. I was really pleased. Thank you. So it is 9:02, and I need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Trustee Kartner. Trustee McPherson, cast your vote, please. Safe travels, everyone.